So not that long ago, the Ottawa Senators, including in my eyes, were a dumpster fire. Eugene Melnyk not willing to get a new arena. Pierre Dorion seemingly trading all of the players on this team. And things didn't really look so good for the Ottawa Senators. But since then, a couple of good moves by Dorion and Melnyk seeming to go back on the step back a little bit, letting Dorion do his work, kind of keeping his mouth shut a little bit. The Ottawa Senators are finding themselves in a little bit of a culture change here in Ottawa, and it's a sign of better things to come for the Ottawa Senators. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Now let's take a look at the things changing in Ottawa. So over the past couple of years, the Canadian city of Ottawa has seen a lot of change. We've seen Erik Karlsson, the former captain, leave the Ottawa Senators. Matt Duchene was traded there. The Ottawa Senators traded their pick to Colorado, which ended up being a top draft pick because the Senators not only missed the playoffs last season, but were the last team in the NHL and basically giving a top 5 pick to the Colorado Avalanche. Matt Duchene ended up getting traded it again at the deadline to the Columbus Blue Jackets. So things did not look good for the Ottawa Senators. And a lot of that had to do with Eugene Melnyk to a degree. He is the owner of the Ottawa Senators. And unfortunately, Pierre Dorion seemed to be taking a lot of heat because of that. Now, the reason that Erik Karlsson and Duchene would not stay, a lot of that had to do with dollars. Eugene Melnyk did not want to pay them the money that they wanted, more like the money they actually deserved. But there were some issues with Eugene Melnyk. Definitely some talk that he came into the locker room and actually confronted Karlsson after a game. And there was definitely a bad look for the Ottawa Senators. And if I'm a free agent during the summer, why would I want to go to a team where the owner after a game could be coming down and completely berating me after a game, and maybe I didn't even have all the control over? So that's a tough spot, and it didn't look good for the Ottawa Senators. It kind of showed instability. Their head coach, they had gone through 2 or 3 head coaches in a very short amount of time, and there just wasn't much stability in Ottawa. And since then, over the summer, they fired their former bench boss, and they bring in the Toronto Maple Leafs power play coach, which ends up becoming the head coach of the Ottawa Senators, DJ Smith. Now, at the time, it looked like a weird hire. We were hearing that possibly Patrick Waugh coming back. He coached the Colorado Avalanche a couple of years ago. There were a couple of other names in the mix as well. But DJ Smith from Toronto was coming to the Senators. And that ended up being a very good decision by the Ottawa Senators because under DJ Smith, the Ottawa Senators, their record isn't great. They aren't one of the better teams, and they probably aren't going to make the playoffs. But the way this team plays, you watch the way they play, they are a very exciting team to watch. I enjoy watching the Ottawa Senators, and I've really started to become a fan of the Ottawa Senators this season just because of that underdog story. My team, the New York Islanders, was that last year, and maybe they don't make the playoffs or they don't win a round like the Islanders did, but it's really a good sign of things to come here for the Ottawa Senators, and not all hope is lost. Remember, they do have their first-round pick this year, pending they trade that for Matt Duchene again. I don't think Dorion's going to be making that mistake. But the Ottawa Senators really have some good pieces on this team. You look at Brady Tkachuk, who they picked early in the draft a couple of years ago. He's really been a stud for the Ottawa Senators, and he's really been a huge part of this culture change for this team based on his aggressive, agitating play. Maybe not to the level of Brad Marchand like we see in Boston, but a very similar player. He gets under the opponent's skin, and you have to respect the Ottawa Senators when you play them. You're going to be in for a dogfight, and that's a great job. I don't know whether that's DJ Smith or Brady Tkachuk or some of these other guys, but somebody's stepping up and really, asserting themselves in that way, and I think a lot of that has to do with Brady Tkachuk. His brother, obviously, Matt in Calgary, kind of the same player in a lot of senses, and we're seeing that player here in Ottawa, and the Ottawa Senators really, at the time it was a little bit, is this guy that good? Maybe, maybe not. He is really good for the Ottawa Senators, and considering the lack of talent around him, Tkachuk is still putting up some pretty good numbers. Anthony Duclair leads the team in points, which is amazing. So, the Ottawa Senators, some of these guys may not be staying. Jean-Gabriel Pageau as well, right there at second with points. on the Ottawa Senators. So they might be losing their two top point producers in Duclair and Pajot, but maybe because of the way this team is playing now, they may look to hold on to these guys. And if not, you could trade them for more assets. Duclair, I think you could probably get, a first or a second round pick or a very solid prospect, maybe, an A minus, B plus prospect, possibly out of a team. Same thing pretty much for Jean-Gabriel Pageau. And worst case, you keep them and you have those guys under your wing. I would say you have to sign them before the deadline just to make sure you get value for them. Thomas Chabot leads the team with over 22 minutes of ice time a night. That is the most average ice time per game in the NHL. So DJ Smith is putting Chabot out there a lot. Brandstrom is not that far behind in that category as well, who they picked up as the big piece last season in that trade with the Vegas Golden Knights, where they sent Mark Stone over to the Golden Knights. So not all is lost. Obviously, they lost Mark Stone. They lost Erik Karlsson. They lost Matt Duchene. They had that whole situation with Zach Smith where they waived him. Nobody took him. And they ended up keeping him. It's just different things like that. That really didn't shine a great light on the Ottawa Senators. But since then, the Senators, really a pretty solid team. And then you have some good stories coming out of the Senators this season. Obviously, Duclair the other night scoring the game-winning goal in overtime against the Columbus Blue Jackets, who he played for last season. John Tortorella came out, when Duclair left, basically saying he can't play in the NHL. Well, you just scored the game-winning goal against your team this year, buddy. So good to see that for Anthony Duclair. You love seeing stories like that situation. It's really the island of misfit toys there in Ottawa, and these guys are really playing, and they're buying into that mentality. And if that's DJ Smith or somebody in the room, I don't know, but you got to give the credit to DJ Smith because he has done a very good job coming into the season and looking at that situation. I'm not sure many coaches would be too fond of that situation, but he's really helped turn this around for the Senators this year. Mark Borowiecki, as well as that, another off-ice incident. Some guy was looking to hijack a car and steal people's skis and their passport. He basically clotheslined the guy off his bike. So, you hear different stories like that. It's really nice to see for the Ottawa Senators, off the ice as well as on the ice, considering the amount of awful publicity with the arena and the owner and the players on and off the ice not wanting to be there. The Ottawa Senators needed some good news, and so far it's been very good news for the Ottawa Senators. Hopefully, this is the start of the change for the Ottawa Senators for the better, and it seems like the culture is absolutely changing in Ottawa. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. The record isn't showing it, but the Senators really are turning it around, so very happy to see that. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.